Hello everyone, so today I'm going to show you how to arrange this week's wonderful arrangement called Hubba Bubba, because it's got lots of fun colours and feels a bit like a sweet shop. And then I'm going to show you how to combine it with last week's lovely arrangement called Hazy Days into our very nice hurricane vase, which is perfect for combining 2 weeks of flowers together. One mega whopper of an arrangement. If you don't have a hurricane vase though, do just follow along in your classic Freddy's vase or whatever vase you've got. So as always, make sure to use your flower food, use room temperature water about 1/3 of the way full in your vase, and then make sure to snip an inch off the end of all your stems using clean, sharp secateurs, because you wouldn't eat with a dirty fork, so you don't cut your flowers with a dirty knife, very important. And use your flower food, make sure you use some flower food. So I'm going to start with my blooms arranged evenly around the edge of the vase. Yours will have arrived with nets on, which don't remove until the end. And I always like to start with my focal flowers around the edge, then they get seen, and they tend to be the shorter flowers around the edge, working my way into the taller, more architectural flowers in the middle. Then I'm going to face my lovely alstroemeria opposite each other. Alstroemeria lasts for weeks and is a sort of very nice filler flower that just gives another texture and colour. And then for the first time this year, some magnificent sedum, which will be bigger than this. You can find it in your garden as well, but it's got a lovely rubbery texture and starts off in season very green and slowly turns into a lovely pinky red colour as the season goes on. So I'm then going to create a square with my alstroemeria, with my sedum facing opposite each other. And we're just making a lovely stem grid in the vase to build into. And then I've got some nice fluffy solidago that I'm going to fill out the middle of the arrangement with. And it should stand up a little bit more centrally because I've got my other stems for support. So look at that, stands up. And this bursts open into lovely yellowy flowers over a few days and just gives a nice fluffy texture to the middle. And I then got some nice pale pink Lizianthus, which kind of gives the Hubba Bubba look to the arrangement. And that I'm going to slot in on either side of my solidago, again nice and upright in the middle. So I've got shorter flowers around the edge building into the middle, and then I get to finish this off with the very structural gladioli, and that will just slot very neatly in because it hasn't got a lot of leaf or flower on the stem, so that will just slot very easily in. And I'm going to create an even triangle with that a little more centrally. And there we have a very, very beautiful arrangement in my nice hurricane vase, which will end up looking a little bit more like this after a week when everything bursts into life. My gladioli pops into life and looks great. So you've got that to look forward to. But for now, what I'm going to do is combine last week's arrangement in with this arrangement. And the hurricane vase is perfect for this because it allows everything to flare out really, really nicely. And very simple to do this. I'm going to take all my stems out of this vase and lay them on the table. And I like to combine arrangements when the colour combinations work really well. So there we go. Now I've laid all of my flowers out on the table. I'm going to snip another centimetre off the bottom of each before plunging them into water, just to freshen them up a bit. And then I'm going to follow the same stylistic pattern as I've got with this, working from the outside in. And therefore I'm going to start with my focal flower, my roses, and I'm going to fill the gaps left by the blooms with the roses. So I'm just going to tuck these around the edge. Then I'm going to do the same with my Agapanthus. So I just need to snip a bit of these off to make them all level. And I'm going to follow the shape round with my Agapanthus. So just kind of quite neatly around the edge. My Eryngium is also going to sit around the edge, and I'm actually going to whip off a few of these lower bits because these are lovely for my bud vases. So I can take these off, and what that does is it means that those little stems won't get caught on any of the other flowers, and they'll now slot in quite nicely. And I'm just going to trim, make these a bit shorter so they just sit on the edge of the vase, and they can just, wherever you want, opposite each other in the vase, just like that. And like that. I've got some rosemary left over from last week, and I'm actually going to keep that back for my bud vase as well. So I'm going to keep that and that for a lovely little bud vase and a few trimmings of the Lysianthus. But we're now going to go into the middle with the Lysianthus. I'm going to take off a couple of these little bits for my bud vase, And again, just removing the lower bit so that they sort of spear into the middle of the arrangement very easily without too much friction. So they'll go in very nicely like that. So now I've got my gladioli, and with my gladioli, what's very important is to remove some of these lower flower heads, because by removing them, that gives more energy to the top of the flower, meaning that the top flowers will definitely open. So just like that, pluck them off. Very nice. And again, that gives less flower here, meaning it will slot into the arrangement easier. So in these go, and they'll work very well with your green gladioli when they start to open from your new bunch. And you can just pop those in the middle. Wow, so there we have a pretty mega combination of arrangements, the whopper I like to call it. And you can give it a bit of a plump by pulling everything up. And there we go, that looks very mega indeed. And now alongside that, I've got one of my bud vases, and you can just very easily snip some of that off, put that in there. Got my little leftovers of eryngium, which just trim the ends a bit, get them the right height, pop them in there. Got a bit of my rosemary as well, snip it off like that. You can either use it on your roast lamb or put it in your bud vase like that, and how pretty is that? Have 3 of those on your dining room table and that would look lovely. So a nice bud vase and a mega whopper of an arrangement that you've either you've combined with last week's, or you've got your arrangement on its own that you've done this week. Thank you very much for watching. Give it all a go, have fun, and see you next week.